Hey there, everybody. This is P.L. Sullivan, and I'm just doing this really last-minute promotion for Chicago Corner because we are their first official sponsor over here for P.L. Sullivan's International Chicken Wing and Currency Exchange behind that one alley. You know the one. And where's that button? Where's the button? Oh, there's the button.
You are watching the Tuesday night edition of Chicago Corner. Woo!
Hello, hi, welcome to Taco Tuesday. Who wants a taco? Yeah, I know. Taco. Go crazy. All right, everyone, act normal. Perfect. Now, everybody say.
Oh my God! It's Taco Tuesday!
Hello, my name is Deep Dish Pizza enthusiast Edward Heller, and it's Tuesday on Chicago Corner. I just want to give you a quick update on a thing, so hang on one moment, please. Yeah, we still don't know where those wings are. But in adjacent wing news from the Cook County Record, from reported today, actually. Let's see if my scroll works. Judge tosses boneless wings class action versus Buffalo Wild Wings for now. The class action asserted boneless wings, just nugs. Now, we don't have to go into details on that. No, we're not going into details on that. But anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chicago Corner this Tuesday. And we have a few special guests this evening. Jerry Vassilatos has the night off, although he might check in from an undisclosed location later. We'll see. But let's get to the fun stuff, which is, I don't know what the fun stuff is anymore. But let's get into this stuff, which is, where is that stuff? Oh, yeah, that stuff. Hang on. More stuff.
Some heavy hitters coming out with endorsements today in Chicago's runoff mayoral election. Today, Reverend Al Sharpton backed Brandon Johnson, while U.S. Senator Dick Durbin came out in support of Paul Vallis. Our Andrew Ramos is live in the newsroom to break down where the race stands just 9 days from Election Day. Andrew?
That's right, Dana. Call it crunch time. With just about a week until Election Day, every public appearance, handshake, and in this case, endorsement become all the more critical for Johnson and Vallis, both campaigns hoping they could move the needle in their favor in these final days. The Reverend Al Sharpton on Sunday threw his support behind Brandon Johnson at a rally at New Mount Pilgrim Church, calling him the only candidate who could lead the city of Chicago amid the current climate. Sharpton also taking a jab at the Vallis campaign and their attack ad.
Okay, this is too slow.
When
Let's
Johnson
speed this
appeared
up.
on Sharpton's show,
Come on.
explaining how he would defund the police.
Brandon talked about that on my show, and they try to put that on. We are not a defund the police. We are the define the police.
Yeah, actually, that's pretty good. Instead of defund, it's define. Yeah, all right. I'm cool with that line.
We get to tell the truth. And so now the very people who caused the mess, they want to be back in charge of the mess that they created.
Johnson even hit the dance floor at another rally later in the day at Calumet Park.
I support Paul Vallis for mayor.
Meanwhile, Vallis kept busy with another high-profile endorsement, this one coming from State Senator Dick Durbin. The two have worked together in a number of roles across the state over the past 40 years. It's that working relationship with results, the senator says, is proof that Vallis is the right guy for the job.
Okay, that's enough of that garbage. Here's my problem. And you guys may have gotten a hint by the show title here. Do late endorsements really matter? As we see endorsements continue to emerge in this polarized mayoral runoff, it becomes more clear that the later the mayoral candidates' endorsements come in, the less they are likely to matter, if they mattered at all, in swaying likely voters. Sure, these late endorsements could fortify those who had already had a strong leaning toward their preferred candidate, but for a voter focusing on the issues and watching the candidates' performances at the many forums and debates held, including the one we covered, these endorsements are unlikely to matter. What does matter is how some politicians think they can continue to give lip service while providing little to no return on those words, and then expect an endorsement from them to carry any kind of weight with the public they want to influence. So with that said, I am bringing in my co-host for this evening. You may recognize her from such things as Chicago Corner and the Mud Queens of Chicago. Kira Macoun, who is muted.
You did. Hello.
Oh, there
I
you
was
go.
laughing at the Wings update, and then I decided I had better mute myself because that was like a throw my head back sort of a laugh. And I agree. Boneless chicken wings are garbage. Garbage.
Well, they're nugs. They are nugs. They really are.
They're the worst.
And that's not, I mean, you can get some, yeah, and you can get some good chicken nuggets, but don't call them boneless wings.
Agreed. Absolutely. They're definitely nugs. So that's my stance on that.
Yeah. So yeah, we're talking about late endorsements, Kira.
Yeah. So I don't know like that endorsements ever have done anything for me personally. Like, I'm not sure. Have you ever?
Hang on, Kira. 1 second. I gotta turn us on a rock fin. Hold on.
Oh shit, nugget.
Oh, crap.
Shit, boneless buffalo wings.
Hold on. All right. Hello, Rockfin. I kind of lapsed on getting the stream started over on your end over there. If you want to see the first several minutes of the show, you can jump over to YouTube or Odyssey when it gets over there. So you guys can see the lovely ads and the opening and my rant editorial there, and then my introduction to the brief return of Kira to the show, which is always fun.
One night only. That's the only part of that song I know. So yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah. So so again, welcome Kira to this evening's Taco Tuesday broadcast, and we are talking about late endorsements. Do late endorsements really matter?
So my question is, I think that most voters are far lower information than what we are, not because we're like, some geniuses that know a lot about politics, is because we have a show where we have to pay close attention to what's going on and the policies that these politicians are peddling. That was a lot of alliteration. And so because my question was going to be, have you ever been swayed by an endorsement?
When I see endorsements come out there, if it's from somebody I like, if it's a politician that I like, and there aren't too many of those these days, I at least give it a second thought.
Right.
I'm going to go and say, well, this guy is at least coming out to say that he's backing this candidate. Maybe I should look into this candidate and see if there's more information I need to know about this guy, or if I should reconsider if I've been leaning toward a different candidate. But that said, I'm really issues oriented. So it's got to be about what do they stand for? What have they done? What are they saying they're going to do? And do you believe it?
And that's really, like, for me, I look at the candidate's history a lot more than I tend to look at much of anything else. I do think that what they say they're going to do is important, but generally the third piece of what you're talking about, do I believe them? I largely base on it on like, it's a history based conversation for me. And it's like, do I actually trust this person? Yeah. And so endorsements in general don't really impact me, but I do believe endorsements impact people in general. And in a race like this, because I think the latest poll numbers that I saw were like 44 to 44% with 12% undecided.
Yeah. And someone was reporting like a 5 or 6% difference, and that could be, I mean, depending on who you're polling and how you're framing the questions, and how many people were polled, that could still be a really close race. And so
endorsements might make a difference in this.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think they would make that much of a difference for me, Kira, except hold the phone. Wilco's endorsing Brandon Johnson. Okay, I'm all in.
All right, fine.
Hold on. All right.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff, Glenn, the Chicago guys in Wilco, and we just want to let you know this is the guy we're voting for, Brandon Johnson. Be sure to do it before April 4th. You can do it right now.
I just hope the music that they had in the background isn't going to get us a DMCA strike. So Wilco, you guys know that if you're going to endorse people and have your music playing in the background, you can't go after us.
Yes, please leave us alone. All right, well then I'm swayed. I'm convinced now. You're right.
Yeah,
I was
totally
wrong.
swayed. Yeah.
Endorsements work.
So actually, there was another Twitter that I want to bring up first. Someone ran a poll because they were, I think they were running along the similar lines that we were at the beginning of this show. TR Youngblood on Twitter says, great band, but I'm sure they have managers and a team to handle their business. Does anyone really want a band making fiscal decisions that impact millions? Also curious if a band/celebrity would actually influence a voter's decision. And their poll ended a few hours before the show started, so we couldn't let you participate in this one, but you can see that a whole bunch of people voted that a band would influence their decision. Now, was that, 235 people voted on Twitter. Were they doing it just for funsies?
Right.
Or are they really?
People are shitting him. No, there's no way that people are swayed by a band's endorsement.
I guess it depends on the band, and how politically active they are.
Like, what bands do you know that are particularly? I know formerly the Dixie Chicks, the Chicks.
Roger Waters from Pink Floyd.
Okay, Roger Waters. Yeah.
Pearl Jam, I think, was
politically
active for a little while.
The right-leaning band people who obviously would sway me in the other direction.
Right.
That
and
guy.
Then of course Rage.
Fever.
Ted Nugent. Yeah.
That guy.
Love his music, but his politics are garbage. And then who else was there? All right, I'm gonna have a brain fart, and I'll remember 2 hours later.
He heard Limp Bizkit's endorsing Dallas.
It's just one of those days.
I love it.
Gonna get a DMCA for that.
Mm-hmm.
You sounded way too much like him. Give us $5.
Too close.
Give us $5. You can't sound like that guy.
Did it all for the nookie. That's right. Yeah.
So, and then Extra Bull, he's running for president. Did you know that, Kira?
What? Extra Bullets?
Yeah, he someone had I think the Do Dissidents guys. They're another independent live streamer, Do Dissidents.
Okay.
They have endorsed Warren Extrabulla for president, and then of course, Mad Crab Greg came out and said, "No, you don't want to vote for him. Vote for me." And there's a whole independent media thing going on here.
I think my dog Cheddar should actually run for president.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
Cheddar
the dog for president.
I gotta get some signs out, some advertisements for him out. I mean.
So Warren says he was endorsed by the band Crocus.
Okay.
So that, I mean, I'm not shocked by that at all. And
I don't know if I know Crocus.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing I don't. I haven't heard of them, but that doesn't mean I haven't heard the music.
Was it late 70s, Warren?
Yeah.
Early 80s. Yeah, you can find their music everywhere on the interwebs, because that's what the interwebs is for.
All right. Well, then I will have to look into it, because I'm one of those people that can know every single lyric to a song, but have no idea who sang the song. It's probably super annoying to people, especially artists, where that's kind of important.
Warren says nobody knows Crocus, not even Crocus.
Not even Crocus.
Okay.
But it might, once I hear their music, it might sway me to vote for you. So
yeah. Oh, hey, Kira, do you have access to our Patreon? Are you able to log into that thing to see if we got any new Patreon supporters?
You know what? I
can give you a few minutes on that
Patreon before, but I can't say that I have. Let me see if my computer saved the email and password.
Well, I can give you a few minutes for that, and I can rant for a bit, because I actually wanted to rant just a moment about one of our Illinois senators, Dick Durbin, who just came out and said that he was endorsing Paul Vallis because they get results. That phrase, when you first hear it, you're thinking, oh man, that guy gets results. And then you realize it means nothing. Results. I get results. Outcomes are things I can achieve. I do things, and then other things happen.
Yep.
So again, what kind of results are you getting, Dick Durbin, and why haven't we primaried you sooner?
So I don't have the correct password. I used to at one point, but I no longer have the correct password.
Well, I know at last check, we had 5 Patreon supporters. Thank you very much for supporting us. And I always forget who it is, other than it's Kathy Powers. Thank you, Kathy. And Shane. We got Shane Coughlin and Dominic Palella, and and we got was it the campaign guy from Johnny
Lagalbo's campaign?
And then
that's actually what it says on our Patreon.
And then Professor from People's Response Network. What was his name? I have a Swiss cheese memory for names. I
but we
apologize.
got 4 out of 5. That's not bad.
Yeah. So thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon. I don't readily have that page up, so I'm gonna have to log into the thing and take a look.
I'm just gonna have to get the new password, because the password was changed, which is probably smart, because changing passwords on a regular basis is supposedly a really good idea. I wouldn't know from experience. I just
Kathy says Dr. Howard Ehrman.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
It sounds
Kathy.
like we might have lost a few Patreon supporters, maybe financial reasons or other reasons, and that's cool. If you'd like to keep supporting us and you can't afford to, share the stream, let people know we exist. Like, share, subscribe, participate in the conversation in the live chat, because it's very important that you guys contribute to the content that we do, because when you tell us stuff then we find other things to look into. We can look for stories. You give us information a lot of times on things we may not have had on our radar, and so we appreciate that.
Absolutely. Not only that, but I'm just going to mention this, and I'm glad that I got a way to like slip this in today. So I'm obviously stepping in for Jerry this evening, and I haven't been co-host of a show in quite some time. I popped in on election night for like an hour or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
that was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And but today I woke up early, and it's not like I started prepping for the show early, but I had to get a bunch of other stuff out of the way for work early. And then this afternoon, just reading articles, catching up, making sure I knew what was going on with the elections, reading all of Kathy's emails to me, making sure that I was caught up on all of that, and ready to basically just feeling somewhat prepared. Highlight the word somewhat there. And it took hours and hours of my time today. I didn't, get to go outside with my daughter. Like, she sat and watched cartoons all day. And it's one of the main reasons that I had to stop doing this as a weekly thing, because I took 6 minutes to eat dinner tonight with my family. And it gets to be this thing that, like, it's an ordeal to put on this show. And it was a big reminder today.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're not putting all the other stuff together, like the show notes and everything else, just preparing for a show, that it's definitely you have to put aside time and energy for it. And
it's a lot of energy, and I just want to reiterate, it's one of the reasons I had to step down from being a regular host. And so people who contribute to our Patreon, people who are subscribed to our channel, watching our channel, commenting, sharing, all of that is a massive help to building our channel, which will ultimately help us be able to just do this with like integrity for our own lives. Right. And we love doing this show, and it really takes something. And today was a huge reminder of that for me personally. So I just wanted to share that. Contribute what you can. And we love you for it. And it doesn't need to be financial, but that's super duper helpful too.
And let's see who's in the chat today. Let me scroll all the way back. Arturo's here. Hello, Arturo. Steve Wolfbrandt. Oh, Jerry is in the live chat. He's in an undisclosed location.
Yo.
And yes, Steve Wolfbrandt, Chicago does have tacos. We got a pretty good taco game in Chicago.
Yeah, I was going to say, our tacos are real good here.
Yeah, sadly, I didn't have any today. I had a PB&J because I can't afford tacos right now. But
my
the
husband
good part about that,
curry.
The great part about that is I like PB&J.
PB&J is delicious. That's why.
It's why I'm like, well, I'm too poor to really get all the fast food and support all the local restaurants like I really like to every week. But I can still have a decent meal with a good solid PB&J.
Yeah.
So
I used to eat a PB&J like every single day.
So if any peanut butter sponsors would like to sponsor us, or
I will eat the jar of
jelly.
peanut butter on the show.
Yeah, that would actually be. We could make that a whole channel right there. It'd be the lives. Kira eats.
That's right. I'll eat. There's a lot of chicken curry leftovers, Mad Matt. Lots of it. My husband cooks every night. Yeah. And there's always a massive amount of leftovers.
I think the Japanese have actually created a thing for that, for live streams, and it's called mukbang, where they basically just get people to do a live stream where they're just eating.
I could do that. I could do mukbang for sure. I think I'd be good at it. Although I've watched some of the videos, and it is a lot of cramming, a lot of food.
I mean, it would be one of those things where, like, if you like have a huge metabolism to where you could eat like an entire pizza, for example,
I could eat an entire pizza.
And then just be, just like and have basically just do a live stream of you doing that.
I have to
right?
stop myself especially when I'm in a group of people with pizza, because I'm like, you gotta let other people eat the pizza. Stay away. And so I really like having other people around, and pizza's usually pretty communal, right?
Yeah. So where did I leave off? Oh, who else is in the chat? Les Bones, I see in the chat. Kathy Powers, I mentioned. Ware Pilgrim. Who else? Extra Bulla. Yes, Warren, I gave you a blue wrench because you gave everyone blue wrenches. So I'm like, the least I could do is return the favor. And since I know that you're semi-responsible as a blue wrench admin, I can leave that in your hands.
I mean, that's a lot.
No, I mean, some people, if you're in the live chat now and you're upset that you don't have a blue wrench, you got to earn those things. You can't, unless you're like on one of Warren's very first live stream channels for his new channels. If you show up on day one, he'll give you a blue wrench. But we have to be a little more discriminating because we don't want anybody and their sister just throwing down the ban hammer on people that we like in the live chat. That's true.
We want to make sure that people get to speak.
Yeah. So, Vera and DB, I see you're in the chat. Pat Brannigan, welcome. Who else? We've got who else is logged? I'm scrolling as fast as I can. Did I say Miguel H? Welcome, Miguel H. We still need that puzzle.
Still waiting on it. Losing sleep
waiting
over
on the puzzle. Ward map puzzle. Chicago ward map. They redrew the Chicago ward map, and Miguel was assigned the homework to provide us with the new ward map in artwork so that we could make it into a puzzle. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, and he doesn't really have to, but we keep bugging him about it because it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Andrew Chebuhar, welcome. Sebastiano with the Volcanoes. He's a staunch supporter of the Volcano Party, volcanoparty.org, which, we like to say drop Congress into a volcano. Sometimes that's the obstruction you got to do in order to get things done, right? We get results by dropping Congress into a volcano.
Just a big crane.
Yeah. Okay. I said Andrew, Kathy, Extra Bull, Mad Matt Chicago, welcome. Welcome back. I've seen you before. Okay. Are we good? I think we've got everybody.
Killer Whale.
All right, cool. Did we miss any? Okay. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't yet, if you're tuning in and you're saying, hey, what happened to their Facebook page? We made a new Facebook page so Hardlines could have theirs back. It's just a reorganization of the Facebook pages. So go and find Chicago. Is it Chicago Corner TV on Facebook? I think, or Chicago Corner. Yeah, it's Chicago Corner TV. Somebody else has the Chicago Corner shortcut. Some woman has it. I don't know why. But yeah. So go follow us on Chicago Corner TV. You can, if you're looking for anything, you can even watch the show on ChicagoCornerTV.com, and it'll have all of our current social media. We'll post updates there from time to time. So if you need to find us, ChicagoCornerTV.com.
True. And our Twitter is the same.
Yes. Let's get on with the rest of it. If you got to leave early, you got to leave early, Steve, but you can always catch us on the replay. Thanks for supporting the channel.
Enjoy that LA weather.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Jerry's out there.
Yeah,
did
it's
I say
real
that?
nice right now.
I shouldn't have said
on
that.
On my app.
I shouldn't have said that.
Now everybody knows.
I didn't say that. You didn't hear that.
You didn't hear anything.
Anyway, so briefly back to why Dick Durbin needs to be primaried. It's quite clear to me he's shown his entire two-faced posterior Yeah, that's a visual. Endorsing the guy who is perfectly fine with selling off whatever public whatever public assets remain of the city to the highest bidder. Dick Durbin is thrilled to support the guy who will resume destroying Chicago schools while his campaign continues to blame institutional failures of a blatantly sabotaged system on teachers or public sector unions. It is our conclusion that Senator Durbin must be held accountable at every opportunity for failing to fight for nationalized comprehensive health care for his state, failing to fight to extend and expand unemployment benefits, food security programs, financial assistance, debt relief, and other programs, and must be primaried at the end of his term and defeated at his next election.
Indeed. Yes.
Enough is enough. So we got a couple years to make that happen, because I believe his current term ends in 2026.
Yeah. It's coming up. And as one of the most powerful Democrats in the Senate, right? He's got a lot of explaining to do.
He does.
Absolutely. And
so he's way too friendly with corporate interests.
Agreed with that 100%.
And this is a problem. So it's like, retire, Dick. It's done.
Well,
You're
and
done.
not only that, like, I think at this point, I mean, I don't know, again, just back to the endorsements conversation, is anybody really like, I wonder who Dick Durbin's going to endorse? I don't think so. I think people are really disenchanted with leadership, especially at a federal level.
Yeah.
So it's like an endorsement from someone at the federal level right now. I mean, I think that Bernie Sanders is endorsing Brandon Johnson. And I think a lot of people, even with someone like Bernie, who is arguably the most likable senator in the nation, right now, is still like, okay, yeah, but who cares, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of apathy, I want to say, toward the federal candidates or federal representatives.
And with good reason.
Because of how they basically just lied down and decided to pretend like they're doing something for us while they keep handing stuff to the 1%. And so this isn't 2016 anymore, Bernie. And so while I think strategically it's probably good that you endorse Brandon, because there's a lot of people who don't pay attention to politics as closely as we do, and would still appreciate the fact that you came out to support him. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly do appreciate it, but it's not one of those things necessarily that are going to sway me or that I'm waiting around to listen for.
Yeah. So essentially, if you're anywhere on the left, and you're left of most of the Democratic Party, like a good portion of us are now, it's a whatever moment for me. Bernie endorsed Brandon, whatever. I was going to vote for him anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, Kathy said Bernie's coming to town. He's going to be Thursday night at the United Center. I'm going to go look at the details because I'm probably going to go.
Jerry says hashtag when France.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
eventually.
And when Jerry says a lot, he says torches, pitchforks. When?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, because I look at what's going on with a place like France, and they have a lot of the infrastructure that allows them to protest in that way. Not to make excuses for Americans and our lack of really getting pissed and getting out into the streets for days and days and days and days and days. But we don't have the kind of social infrastructure that actually supports us to do that. And that's by design. So we can't actually go for days and protest, because then we all like lose our jobs and we
Starve.
don't bring in our
Yeah.
hourly wage, and
Yeah.
our power
Yeah,
gets shut off and that kind of thing.
we need our own community systems in place before we do that kind of stuff. And I mean, clearly, I mean, some people can just pick up and organize and make that happen, but in America, we've been neutered a lot as a society, just because I don't know, it's just decades of propaganda, bootstrap brain mentality, and distractions, like the propaganda that's fed to us daily on all the news channels, and then streaming channels, streaming television, internet, social media. A lot of that stuff is making a lot of people think that, well, things aren't possible. We can do stuff. It is possible to organize and do some things. We've seen strikes starting to happen all over the country,
and
right?
and a lot of unions, a lot of labor unions, standing up for each other. Lots of solidarity in
some
that
of that's, I mean, and even though the corporate media is trying their best not to cover a lot of that stuff, some of it is starting to bleed through, right? They can't stop it forever. Eventually, their ratings are going to suffer so badly, or their sponsors are going to start drying up, and then they won't know how to do anything to make money unless they actually start covering the news again. You can't. You're not going to be able to endlessly do news just because you're funded by big pharma and all. And it's like all we see on TV now is what? Drug ads, right? It's drug ads or advertisements for like products that are owned by like a handful of large corporations.
Right, absolutely. Although the drug ads, where they list the drug, the name of the drug, which is usually already a hilarious name. But then if you look in the parentheses underneath and they show you like the real name of the drug, what's a really fun game that my husband and I play is we try to pronounce the drug name, the actual drug name. And it gets a good hoot. So, I mean, they do serve a purpose in our household. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And speaking of organizing, we are actually having someone who organizes on the ground here at Chicago in about 20-25 minutes from the People's Lobby. Daniel Strum, he's going to talk about Get Out the Vote, and he'll have some information for us to share with everybody, so that if you do actually want to get active in regards to this upcoming election, specifically the mayoral election, but the People's Lobby does endorse a lot of alderperson candidates as well. You can do that. And we are here to share that information with y'all, just so you know.
Kathy Power says, we can have nice things. We have each other's backs. Yeah, I think a lot of us do. We just have to make everybody else understand that we've got their back, because a lot of people are they're very much about themselves and to each his own and every man for himself kind of mentality, which has been drilled into their brains since birth. And we have to understand that society exists because people didn't want to do that anymore.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, some societies were created by royalty or kings or leaders or whatever, but at a certain point, people, even like people in democracies and stuff, I mean, there's a structure that people want to live with other people, right? People want to have some kind of connection so that they can do bigger things. Because if it's just one dude, can one dude build a road? Not a real good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, and if you just consider anything that you've done in life that is kind of, a big deal, like I think even like getting through school, right? I was supported by my parents and, neighbors that, intercepted me for when I had to get home, and just the community that it takes to actually get anything done in life. It's most people are not living in a vacuum and actually succeeding.
And I know we come at it from our own personal lens too. I mean, we understand that some people didn't have the opportunities we had. Some people grew up in communities where maybe they didn't have that type of connectiveness, but maybe there are some things that we can all learn from each other as to how to bring that back so all communities can have that kind of connection,
Yeah, and that's why we stand up for each other. Yeah. Even though, I'm a business owner and I support labor rights. I think they're really important, and I will, I will go out and march with them. I will promote what they're doing because I really believe that we need to take care of each other, even though I'm not necessarily in that group of people.
So here we are, still kind of talking about endorsements, and I just wanted to throw this one out here right now. We know who this is, right?
Do we?
Well, she kind of looks like someone who ran for mayor. I don't know. Yeah, I know.
I'm being cheeky.
I'm being
cheeky.
Yeah, I know. I think Jerry does that too.
I got it from Jerry. Yeah. Actually, I thought it was a funny joke. So.
Alderperson Sophia King had, I think she recently came out endorsing Vallis. Why? And do we care? No, we don't care.
I called it on election night that she would come out supporting Vallis.
But and then of course, I follow social media, so when people post these types of things where they say she endorsed something, other people come out and say, "Hey, did you know she did this? Or did you know this happened to her?" So this is from CookCountyRecord.com.
I love it.
From March 16th. So, again, the internet is a vast community of people who love to do research, even when you don't have the time. Mm-hmm. So take advantage of that and find the information you need, because even if you can't find it through the normal search engines, sometimes people on Twitter are freaking search geniuses.
Yeah. There's that whole community conversation again, right? That we were just on.
So here we are. This is a website called CookCountyRecord.com. And it says lawsuit. City Hall, Michael Reese developer conspired to use city power to smash value of coveted property. By Jonathan Billick. And this is from March 16th. It says a group that owns a piece of property in the shadow of the site of the former Michael Reese Hospital near McCormick Place is asking a federal judge to order City Hall to pay $15 million, accusing city officials and the company overseeing the potential redevelopment of Michael Reese site of using the city's zoning and permitting power to drive down the value of their property so the city can purchase it, quote, cheap to aid their Michael Reese redevelopment plans. Now, how dirty is that?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's some loophole shit right there.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at how people can figure these things out and then put it into action in this way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So here's the fun part. On March 15th, the company known as King Sykes LLC filed suit in Chicago federal court. The lawsuit names as defendants the city of Chicago, along with developer Grit Chicago and Farpoint Development. Individual defendants include 4th Ward Alderperson Sophia King, Chicago Commissioner of Planning and Development Maurice Cox, Deputy Mayor Samir Mayakar. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correct.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yep.
And Scott Goodman, identified as manager of Farpoint Development.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't have to go any deeper into this, but that was hinky enough right there. So So are we now shocked that Sophia King is endorsing Paul sell off the rest of the city Vallis?
Mm-hmm. No,
We're not shocked.
Not at all.
We're not
and
shocked
we're
by
not
that.
particularly shocked that she's a defendant in this kind of a case either.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, especially in Chicago, not shocked about much of anything anymore.
Yeah. So that's, so her endorsement is worth less than nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kathy says business as usual. That's right.
So here we are. That's enough of that endorsement talk. But we, although an adjacent little conversation comes from Heather Sharon. I believe she's from WTTW. Yeah, let me double check here. Yes, brain work. Okay.
Look at that, you stud.
Thank you. Okay, so Fraternal Order of Police. What do they call them? Club 7 or whatever the hell they call them.
Club 7. I don't even know what that is.
It's Lodge 7. That's what it is.
Okay.
President John Clownton-Zera tells Jonathan Wiseman of the New York Times that 800 to 1,000 Chicago police officers will resign if Brandon is elected mayor. And
wait,
there
do
will
they
be,
know
quote,
that?
hold on, and there will be, quote, blood in the streets. Now,
did he tell those 800 to 1,000 cops that they were resigning? Because I have a
I'm
feeling
sure
they
he
probably
didn't.
don't know.
Yeah, but it's like, I'm like, first of all, isn't that illegal? Isn't it illegal to do that? Yes. And also, don't threaten us with a good time, dude. Well, not the blood in the street parts.
I mean, like, I first of all, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Like for a second. That's why I laugh and say, like, do they know? Obviously, I think this is just hyperbole that this dude is coming out with, and I think this dude has got like a really sordid history of being part of like white nationalist groups. So I'm guessing
and
that
it's
the kind of people that would follow him are probably the types of people that we want to sieve out anyway.
Okay, all right, thanks, thank you, Cotton-Zera. Go ahead and take them. Go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I mean,
and here we are.
I start rebuilding, rebuilding the police force in an integrous way.
All right. So Heather Sharon later posts that Paul Vallis said he condemns Cotton-Zera's statement to the New York Times. He says, "We have 7 days to save the city. Vote." Okay, whatever. So in other words, he's fine courting their endorsement, even though I guess he's not taking funds for them, or at least not above board where we can see it.
Right, not where we can see him. Honestly, there's no way. My speculation, there's no way he's not taking money from them in some sort of indirect manner.
Yeah, there's anyway.
And he did this before too, when the FOP hosted some politician that obviously, like the majority of anybody who is even center right, I can't remember who it was that they had come and speak. Maybe someone in the chat might remember that. And then Vallis said, "Well, I don't condone this, but I'll still take their endorsement."
It's so anyway. I there's a thing I like to do when I go into Twitter, and if you guys have a Twitter account, this is a great thing. You can click on the thing that shows where the quote retweets are, and you can read what other people have said about this announcement. So like this, here's a guy named Robert Peters. He says, "This is slick. Paul Vallis gets to denounce it while his friend gets to play scare tactics."
Mm-hmm.
He says, "I want to believe he acted rogue, but Cotton-Zera and Vallis are close. In fact, they're so close, Vallis has said he negotiated the FOP contract for free."
What? All right, it's Twitter, folks. So you can't
this is Twitter.
So on the internet, but
I'm just reading tweets. I'm just reading tweets. But this is Robert Peters. It says he's the 13th district state senator.
Oh yeah, no, I know Robert Peters.
So I mean,
yeah,
why would he lie?
Knowing him personally, I will believe it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, Roland S. Martin says that means 800 to 1,000 job openings will be available in Chicago, unless we redirect those funds, which is fine with me. Alderperson Rosanna Rodriguez. Imagine a nurses union, teachers union, or any public sector union leader saying something like this.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like, okay, now if Vallis gets elected, 1,000 teachers are quitting.
Yeah.
And imagine anybody believing that that would be true. Like nobody would believe that. It's such malarkey. So
Yeah. So she continues. When we say Vallis is standing with the right, this is such a clear example. How can someone running for mayor be okay with this? Well, okay, we got the update. When he says he's not
okay with it. Yeah.
But really, isn't he?
Best news I've heard all day.
Yeah, that's the People for Bernie account.
Too funny.
Cops don't believe in law and don't care about your safety. They're an organized political force pursuing their own interests, which most often align with wealthy, powerful elites. They'll be the first to beat and kill you if you protest, strike, or just try to live your life. These are just people on Twitter saying this. Is not me, not us. Chicago Corner is not condoning of anything on Twitter. We're just reading tweets.
What I always notice about Twitter, though, is that generally there's a tweet that's made, and then the common thread that follows are all against the tweet that's made. Now, I don't know, is that the algorithm of Twitter, like to be as like divisive as possible? And are there actually people that are saying like, I agree with this, you know?
I think there's definitely some of that. I know there are people who are literally paid to be what I call sock puppets, where they're paid by one organization or another or a political party to sow discord or to start a narrative on Twitter. Now, how much of that we're seeing now, we really don't know, because Elon keeps breaking the program. He keeps firing people who maintain certain parts of the system. Some of them might have been fine for them to go in case, they might have been some of the bad actors who have been really messing with people on the left or the right or anyone in between, as far as making people shadow banned, visible, invisible, whatever. But it's just too hard. It's too hard to tell unless you're on the inside to know what's actually happening. I think maybe the reporters like Matt Taibbi and some of the other reporters who are actually able to see some of the internal workings might have a better handle on what exactly is getting suppressed and what isn't. And definitely check out #Twitter files if you are interested in finding out some of those results, because it's enlightening.
Yeah, because it's just something that I notice, right? Because as we look through this, it's just like everybody is attacking that commentary. Yeah. And then every time I look at, tweets that are left-leaning, it's the other way around. You all of a sudden have all these righties coming in and attacking that. And so it's just like a big attack fest, which is one of the reasons I can't stand Twitter, honestly. I just don't think it's an honest actor in the world of social media. Personally.
Yeah, but there are a lot of people on Twitter who are honest actors, and you just have to find them. You curate the people you follow, and you decide if they're bullshit or not, right? You have to, just like you have people you follow on Facebook or any other social media platform. So I've been on Twitter way too long. I've been on since like 2011, so I've cultivated a huge list of people so that I can get a better handle on things that are happening in the world and also in Chicago. And so all I got to do really is look at my feed of all the people I follow and see what they're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, that makes total sense. I can't stand social media in general. Yeah.
It's just a tool. You have to figure out how to use it as a tool for information. Or to spread information.
If I could just live under a rock most of the time, that's probably what I would do.
Yeah. So I'll just read this last one here from Jacob Peters. It says, if their commitment to the city is reliant on who is in the mayor's office, then they might not actually be dedicated to the welfare of the city. We will be better off without armed employees who care so little about our great city. And that's a perfect point. That's a perfect point to end that on.
Yeah.
So once again, we're not here to bash on law enforcement. We expect better from law enforcement. We know you're capable. At least a lot of you are.
We expect better from them, and we expect better for them, because that's the other piece that I feel like isn't being talked about on the left. But I think that most lefties would agree with, which is like they are walking around traumatized because of their jobs, and they're not getting mental health care. Where is this bloated effing budget going if not to take care of the police? Like, I just don't get it, right? And so that's one piece that I think that I
non-lethal gas canisters. I don't know.
Not because of who's mayor, but because I'm not getting taken care of inside of my job. And there's all of this overwork, the overtime, fucking always being called on the moment someone gets called in sick. I mean, when you look at supporting labor and you look at what the police are dealing with, I think that's also something very legitimate to point to and say, like, hey, I think that we could do better for actual police. And I don't think that gets talked about enough. But there's obviously issues with the training as well, which is a lot of what we talk about, and what police get called on to, where funding should be allocated in most 911 emergency calls. All of that is a conversation that we don't get into because we're so busy talking about, do we defund the police or do we fund the police? It's like,
and that's the wrong thing to think of it as. And it's about, why do we keep funneling more and more money into a system that's not reducing crime? And it's because, and it's not a knock against law enforcement. It's a knock against the prioritization of city funds and city resources, right? So we understand that the police in general are a reactionary or a reactive type of force. So they hear about crime, then they react to it. There's not a whole lot of prevention going on in law enforcement. I mean, maybe if they do some kind of effective community outreach, maybe they're able to get through to some kids about staying out of trouble. But aside from that, you really have to improve people's material conditions, right? Which is why we talk about community support systems. We're talking about the basics. People need roofs over their heads. They need to know they're not going to starve. They need to know that if they're kids, they need to know their parents are getting some kind of income so that they can support their family.
They got to have opportunity.
There's got to be
some kind of future to step into.
And they have to have some equity. So, and I've said it before, and we can talk briefly about the construction going on right now, but I'm talking about all the potholes and the terrible road conditions on the south and west sides compared to the north sides and downtown. It shouldn't be that way. It should never be that way. And then briefly, just because I know that people know, I'm mad about the Kennedy Expressway going on right now with the construction. They're just starting to block off the left lanes on the Kennedy.
I've been reading about that.
Okay. Yeah. I take the Kennedy Expressway into work, or at least I did. I probably won't be doing that much longer. The point being that why didn't the state and city and aldermen and the mayor coordinate on making sure that construction projects on all the alternate roads were done first before they started blocking off the inbound Kennedy?
Because that would take some forethought, Ed. come on.
So if you're in Chicago and you're watching this, I am urging you, contact your alderperson, call the mayor's office, talk to all of your state representatives, reps, senators, everybody, and ask them what the holy hell is going on.
No
Why
pun
didn't
intended.
you coordinate this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fix the alternate routes so we can take them.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't be dodging potholes.
Did we cover the story? Because this makes me think of a story. It was either a story or like a quick documentary, it was something that I read or saw about how funding is allocated to issues like sidewalk repair, to issues like street repair, and how it's mostly about the noisiest people who actually tend to be like affluent white people.
And we do know that alder people do get a certain amount, was it stipend or whatever the hell they call it? There's a certain amount of money they get to doing whatever they want really in their ward. And a lot of that for some alder people is basically road repair, pothole filling, that kind of stuff, which in my opinion should be a state funded situation. That should be a no-brainer. We should have people filling potholes who are not Quaker Oats, and we need federal funding, which does not come from your tax money, to pay for basic road repair. This is a no-brainer, and people just don't want to do it. They don't want to wrap their head around it. They keep saying, "How are we going to pay for that?" And I'm like, come on, man. Priorities.
Yeah. It's all about, it's most of it's about prioritization and allocation. So
I'm seeing we have a guest who's just logged on.
Woo-hoo, very exciting. It's an exciting evening at Chicago Corner.
It's a really good evening here.
And a guest.
Yeah, and it's actually, we're just in time for the part of the show where Kira hijacks the show.
I know. I was like, it's Ed's show, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I have this idea. Oh, this person. We need to talk about get out the vote. We need to. Sorry.
And Kira knows that she's always welcome to hijack the show. So I'm like, I didn't have a ton of stuff going on, and I knew you thought you might have a guest lined up. I'm like, okay.
I mentioned it. Yeah.
I mean, that's cool.
That's okay, I guess.
Yeah, so so here we go. But before we do, I just want to get us in the proper state of mind.
Happy premise number one.
Happy premise number one. There are no aliens.
Happy premise number two.
Happy premise number two. There is no giant foot trying to squash me.
Happy premise number three.
Happy premise number three. Even though I feel like I might ignite, I probably won't.
So, what do we do?
Keep it together. Keep it together, keep it together, keep it together, keep it together, keep it together.
Okay.
There you go.
And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take that off the screen. Are we ready to welcome our guest, Kira?
Yeah, I'll give a little bio read, and then we'll bring him on. So Daniel Strum is a municipal elections organizer with the People's Lobby, where he's working on GOTV, which is get out the vote efforts for Brandon Johnson, and the People's Lobby endorsed candidates. Before TPL, Daniel served as the director of constituent services for Alderman Andre Vasquez in the 40th Ward and attended North Park University. So let's welcome Daniel. Woo!
Hey, hello everyone. Hey, how are you?
Greetings. Hey, thanks for coming on and with such short notice, but I think that you're an organizer, so that's kind of how you roll, right?
It is a pleasure to be here. It is a pleasure to be here, and keep it together, keep it together, keep it together has been the mantra of GOTV week. So I appreciate that. Hi Ed, nice to meet you.
Yep. Yeah, welcome to the show.
Yes,
you got a nice loud microphone, which is great.
Good.
So We got you in horizontal video format. We're golden.
We're succeeding already. Look at that. So Daniel, thank you for coming on. We so appreciate you taking the time to chat with us a little bit about GOTV, which again is get out the vote, and why it's so important and how people can get involved and all of that. But before we dive into the details of any of that, you're from an organization called the People's Lobby, which, full disclosure for everybody watching, I too am a member of the People's Lobby and have been for 7 years. And so I've done a lot of work on their behalf, both in electoral work and policy work, mostly with the criminal justice reform that we got passed just recently. That's now tied up in courts. But yeah, so that I just want to be like completely honest about my position with all of this. But Daniel, will you tell us a little bit about the People's Lobby and the work that they do there?
Definitely. Thanks for that, Kira. So the People's Lobby, we're a member-led, member-driven organization, grassroots, progressive political organization. It seeks to put people on planet first. And really, we have a really two-pronged approach to politics, which is one, issue-based advocacy. So a focus on the issues that matter and the policies that will really impact and change working people's lives, whether that be, like you mentioned, support for the Pretrial Fairness Act, which the People's Lobby was a major lead on, or support for the current gig workers ordinance that's in the Chicago City Council and that we're trying to push through to improve the working conditions of gig workers in our city. And in addition to that issue-based advocacy, TPL, the People's Lobby, also does work on electing candidates, right? So we're also an organization which is focused on ensuring that we get progressive champions in office, and then that they partner with us when they're there in co-governance to pass the priorities that we know are meaningful to the lives of working people in this city. So that's why I'm proud to be working with them in this pivotal election when so much is at stake.
Yeah. So how does the People's Lobby go about making sure that candidates that they are endorsing are following through on the actions and the policies that they promise?
100%. Fantastic question. So there's a couple of ways, right? The first is that the People's Lobby ensures that our members are all across the city, all across the suburbs, all across the state, and we're in constant communication with our electeds and ensuring that they are following through on the policies that we're promoting. So we do seek to be co-governance partners with them through both our membership and through our leadership. And that takes a multifaceted approach, but it starts at the beginning, right, in our endorsement sessions where we have members who make sure that these candidates align with our progressive priorities, and then continues as we partner with them in campaign work and ensuring that their campaigns are living up to what we believe in, and that afterwards, right, after we get them into office, that we're still meeting and partnering on important legislation and important issues.
Right on. Mm-hmm. Just out of curiosity, so I know that People's Lobby has endorsed Brandon Johnson for mayor. Mm-hmm. Are there any other alder people right now that are in runoff elections that People's Lobby is in fact endorsing?
Yeah, there are actually. So, in the first round, we won nine seats. Some of those were
I didn't know that.
Some of those were incumbents. Yeah, some of those were incumbents that we defended. So one is, but still, right? We need to keep those incumbents. 2019 was such a wave. Yeah. And we had so many, this Kira and Ed, right? We had so many doubters who I think thought that so many of our electeds were going to go down, and one by one, mm-hmm. Andre, Daniel, Rosanna, go down the line, they stayed. So, that was really encouraging to me. Then we had 5, and then we had 4 that have made it into the runoff, right? So we do have 4 aldermanic candidates. Or 3 aldermanic candidates, and then, of course, our mayoral candidate that's made it into the runoff, Brandon. And those candidates are Angela Clay in the 46th ward.
Oh, yeah.
I'm super excited about. Angela's in a really tough race right now.
It's super tough. There's so much money being flooded into that campaign.
Exactly. Yeah. I live so far from that district, and I am still getting digital ads on my YouTube that Angela Clay wants to defund the police, right? Mm-hmm. And Kim Waltz is backed by all sorts of establishment folks, right? I think she's got the JV endorsement and a bunch of others. So, I'm sorry, Kim Waltz is against Angela. So it's a tough race, right? But I really think she can do it. And she's got the energy, she's got the momentum, passion, so many great orgs. And then our other two that we're endorsing are both TPL members. And so those are Lamont Robinson in the 4 forward. He's running to replace Sophia Keane, who, we saw Boo, unfortunately, endorsed Vallis today.
Who?
Right? Exactly.
Yes, we just talked about her.
No, wait, really? I swear I didn't see the show. We're just on the same wavelength. But and Lamont he's endorsed Brandon Johnson. He's like I said, a TPL member and supportive of us. So 4 forward, for those who don't know, is like Hyde Park and areas around there. And then we've endorsed in the 6th ward, someone named William Hall. He is a member of our clergy caucus in the People's Lobby. So he is a pastor. He is also supporting Brandon Johnson. He's supporting treatment, not trauma. And he is so that's the 6th ward. So those 3 races are the ones that we are backing, but really focusing on the 4th and the 6th.
And this is just more for like bragging, because I'm like super braggadocious. So in the last election, round, not this first before the runoff, but previous elections, how many of our candidates in the People's Lobby actually got elected? Do you know the answer to that?
That's right. It's 9 in the first round. 9.
Yeah, 9 in the first round. Well, I mean, and in the previous election, I can't even remember.
Oh, you mean in 2019?
In 2019, was it? Didn't we kill it on our endorsements during?
Yeah. Oh, in 2019 we got them. Yes. Yeah. I think in 2019 we got everyone that we endorsed. If I remember correctly, and that was the first. I wasn't working for TP all the time, but I was. And again, if we're doing I was volunteering for Andre Vasquez at the time, and so was in the orbit.
I was too. We were.
And you were. That's where. Yeah. But yeah, we got a raft of wins in 2019, and we managed to hold all those wins. Making sure that we keep those folks in. So
yeah, absolutely. That's a lot of the work, honestly. If you think about a lot of the work that we actually did in the People's Lobby over the last year, it was actually just to like maintain the wins, because organizing, I mean, like a win isn't just like a set it and forget it kind of a situation, and that's why this sort of like organized power is incredibly important. So, speaking of organized power, how does the People's Lobby actually go about making sure that their members are prepared to take on, I don't know what the word that's there for me is, like the burden, right? But that's a really negative word, so apologies. Just that, like to carry that. How do they prepare members to do that?
Definitely. Yeah, I think a big way is just by understanding that we're all in this together, right? At the end of the day, we know that the only way that change happens is by all of us joining in together in shared purpose and shared common effort. And so we as staff on TPL really see it as important to be in community with our members and our volunteers and sharing opportunities and lifting one another up as we embark on this work, right? To ensure that we're building a city for the many and not the few. So, we've got tons of opportunities. I don't know if now or later in the program want to share that, but to volunteer. And in those, you meet, I think there's nothing more encouraging in this world than, especially for those of us that are self-proclaimed progressives or people on the left, than to realize that you're not alone, and that, it's not crazy to believe that, that the wealthy should pay their fair share, right? You're not wild to believe that we should reopen our mental health clinics. And I think that there's a sense of when you go out and volunteer, when you knock doors, you get to see that, right? How you are surrounded by so many other people that share in your beliefs and values, people that you would have never have met before otherwise. Same with phone banking, same with text banking, same with friend banking, reaching out to your friends even and figuring out what are their beliefs, what are their values, reminding them to vote. I think all of that is crucial, and it's why we emphasize so many of these canvassing events, so many of these phone banking events, these opportunities to be in direct communication with our neighbors and with one another in the movement.
I love what you're saying about the canvassing and the phone bank. I personally am a huge fan of going door to door. I know very few people.
Kira, I think I lost you for a second.
Oh no! Hello, Ed. How you look? Can you hear me? See me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So Daniel,
can you hear us now?
Can you hear us now? Can you hear me now? We're a Verizon commercial now. Hello. No.
Hold on. Let's see.
Oh, I can hear you now.
Oh, yay!
Okay,
we're back. We're back and better than ever.
Great.
Okay. Killer whale. So I personally have always loved canvassing, going door to door, talking to neighbors. I know that a lot of people don't love it or are terrified of doing it, but I think that you're absolutely right. In my experience of going door to door, which I've probably knocked thousands of doors at this point as an activist and as an organizer in the city of Chicago, because I've been doing it for a long time. One of the things that I do come to realize is that it's those times that I'm door knocking and I'm talking to people face to face that I get most hopeful about what is possible. Because even when I'm not in agreement with someone who opens the door, there's a conversation that gets to be had that doesn't happen. Again, we were just, Ed and I, right before you came on, I was talking about one of the reasons I can't stand Twitter is because, among many, many, many things, social media in general, but like Twitter specifically, I was like, one of the things that I notice about Twitter is somebody posts something, an opinion, and then like literally, well, not literally, but the vast majority of every single subsequent comment is something that like flies in the face, like, no, you're an idiot because of this, or I disagree with you. And I was wondering if the algorithm actually set it up to be divisive, or if people who agree just don't go on there and be like, yes, I agree with you, right? So I don't know, is that a waste of time? So yeah, and so when you're actually able to go door to door and talk to people face to face without the veil of the computer screen, in front of you, it's pretty incredible what can come of those conversations. I mean, one of my funnest, most recent memories is having someone open the door, and I was going door to door for Lindsay LaPointe, and he was like super pissed, right? Not at me, but just about politics, right? And he was just like, I'm just pissed off, right? And he was like not joking around. And I listened to him and I was like, you know what? I'm really pissed off too. And then I started like yes-anding him. I'm like, yeah, and what about this? And then what about this? And then we just like kind of got into it. And then he goes to me, you want a beer? And I was like, yes, I do. So we like sat on his front porch drinking beers and chatting and like just really going through like, why am I out there canvassing? Why am I actually supporting this person who has already held office and he's not seeing any results from, right? Mm-hmm. Which is a super valid question to ask. And so that's been my experience with canvassing. And I don't know if you have anything, Daniel, that you want to share from that.
No, I mean, that's lovely. I have not ever gotten a beer offered to me. I think it's because maybe they don't think I'm old enough, or maybe
what are you trying to say? Hey.
Oh no, never invited back on the program again.
Right.
No, but I think one of the things that I always find most inspiring when I'm canvassing is seeing a couple of weeks ago I canvassed for Daniel Espada, who the People's Lobby, really threw down for, and who thankfully avoided a runoff. And
15 votes, 1-5.
Isn't that remarkable? Right?
Incredible. Yeah.
That goes to show you every vote, right? But I was canvassing with this kid. He was like 8 or 9 years old, but was like passionate about politics, was passionate about, the city, about this election, about everything. To the point about how many votes are swayed, he could have swayed enough votes, honestly, to have won that, right? Because with those margins. But it's just this thing to me of like, here's somebody who can't even vote, right? Here's somebody who so often, right, like young people, especially in this city, I think are cast aside in so many different ways, which is one of the many reasons Brandon Johnson's an exciting candidate, right? Because of his support for youth jobs and education and youth opportunities. But, so often young people's opinions aren't heard or aren't valued. And when he was canvassing, people really like actually loved and admired that a young person was out there talking for what they believed in. And so, this is something I think also that I love about canvassing is that sometimes you'll run into people that maybe at first might be a little guarded or hesitant or might view your candidate or your positions in a certain way. But when they actually get to see the human being in front of them, especially when it's cold like this, you know, and like, what are you doing out here, right?
Which
like,
is when canvassing always happens. Is bullshit.
Which is always exactly because yeah. I wonder why that is.
Is that by design, maybe? I don't know.
But yeah, that's always a great part of it. So
yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. So now that we've kind of, let people know what canvassing is like, for us and just in general, I want to chat a little bit about get out the vote. So I find personally that most people who aren't actively organizing or going door to door and doing this work have no effing clue what GOTV actually is, and like how it works and why it works and all of that. So talk a little bit about get out the vote and the importance of that effort the weekend right before the election day.
Definitely, 100%. So get out the vote. GOTV season is known by anybody in the campaign world, even just ancillarily connected, as the most stressful, most high stakes, most non-sleep at all Red Bull crush type of time. But for the actual infrastructure of a campaign, beyond for the workers and people involved in a campaign, the actual kind of reason that GOTV is so important is because it centers around the idea that for the vast majority of the campaign, you're doing persuasion, right? You're trying to tell people why they should vote for your candidate, why they should support them. You're engaging in those conversations. GOTV season, GOTV time, GOTV week, there's still, of course, always going to be elements of that, but it's really, that's when the rubber hits the road and where you say, we've identified and know we have these people that are supporting us. We need to make sure that literally every single individual that we have ID'd as a supporter actually votes, right?
Yes.
Because it's one thing to have that great conversation at the doors where they're like, yeah, 100%, I'm with it. And then life happens, people get busy, people forget, and then they just go about their business. And you have potentially, huge numbers of people that are supporting you, that are with you, that believe in your cause, that just... And not even their fault, right? Just because of the way that our system and structure is organized. They have kids, they have families, they have jobs, they have obligations, right? Like don't know about the day of, or even intend and plan to vote, but end up missing it. Something goes awry. So GOTV is all about that. It's all about getting people, here's where you can early vote. Here's where you can mail in your ballot. Here's where you can vote day of. Here is your polling place. You support Brandon. What is your plan to vote? Like all of that. It is the nitty gritty details, the conversations with people. When are you doing it? How are you doing it? Any way we can help. Do you need a ride?
We need a ride, yeah.
Yeah, right? Like we will arrange a ride for you. Anything like that, right? And just IDing and going to all those people that support us and ensuring that they actually show up to the polls on April 4th or earlier.
Absolutely. Yes. So tell us a little bit about how folks can get involved in the GOTV efforts. Well, specifically for Brandon Johnson, right? Because that's the endorsed candidate for the People's Body. If you're looking for GOTV efforts for Paul Vallis, go someplace else. Sorry.
Yeah.
So how can people get involved with that?
Definitely. So we got you're in luck, right? We have a huge number of events coming up this week to volunteer and to help. And really quick, right? The reason this is so important, even with GOTV, for this is that this can make the difference. Paul Vallis, with all of his millions, with all of his money on TV, with all of that, with all of his big endorsements, that ultimately that doesn't buy people, right? That doesn't buy votes. What really makes a difference, especially in local elections, is those face-to-face conversations, those talks with a neighbor. We can really make a difference and move things on ground, especially in an election that's this close. With so many undecideds, this will make the difference. So GOTV time. So Thursday night, if you want to stay at home, if you want to be in your pajamas, all comfy, and just hop on Zoom, you can do that Thursday night from 6 to 8 p.m. On Zoom, we're doing a phone bank where you will just be calling people. So maybe you're like going outside, that's not my thing, knocking doors, that's not my thing. Great. We got an opportunity for you to call folks Thursday night. If you do want to knock doors, and even if you don't think it's your thing, make it your thing. Trust me, it is the most effective, and it's awesome, right? It's a great time.
It's way better than phone banking, y'all. Not to discourage anybody from phone banking, because it is nice to be at home and do the work. But going door to door is the best. It's the most effective. You get exercise.
Steps. Get your steps in.
Like wear your activity watch.
Exactly. So we are going to be having on Saturday in the 11th Ward at 10 a.m. So 11th Ward, that's Bridgeport and Chinatown. So we'll be knocking doors there. And this is actually, this is crucial. We're knocking doors in the 11th Ward. The Brandon Johnson campaign actually does not have an operation in the 11th Ward. We are running that operation. And the 11th Ward, that is Strawn Vallis territory. So any dent you can make in Vallis territory like that is a notch for Brandon, right? It's something he really needs. So 11th Ward, crucial. Then we're also going to be in the 4th Ward at 10 a.m. on Saturday. That's, like I mentioned, Lamont Robinson, Hyde Park. That's going to be a great one for boosting turnout for GOTV. We're going to want people there to be voting for Brandon and coming out to vote. And then we'll be in the 40th Ward and the far north side. So if you can't go down south to the 11th or 4th, go up to the 40th. Also going to be crucial territory. Brandon did well, but Vallis did okay as well. So we got to make sure to boost those numbers. And that's at 10 and at 1. So if you like to sleep in like I do, you can go at 1 p.m. instead. And then and you get to hang out with the greatest alderman in the city of Chicago, Andre Vasquez, too. And then at 11 a.m., so also if you want to be a little later than 10, on Saturday, we're in the 30th Ward. And same story, actually. We're the ones running point in the 30th Ward. We're really going hard for Brandon there. And there's a whole team there of the 30th Neighbors United, who are fantastic IPO. And they are running the operation there to help boost Brandon's numbers in another really crucial area of the city for him. So, and then Sunday, we do it all over again. And you can check all the things on the calendar there, but plenty of opportunities in plenty parts of the city for you to get involved.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I also know on voting day, right, you can actually stand outside of the voting precincts and be handing out material and stuff like that.
That's right. That's right.
So to find all the events that Daniel just mentioned and possibly more, you can go to thepeopleslobbyusa.org and click on their calendar, or go to /calendar in the address bar, and you can get that information. I had a question, and I don't know if maybe you've got a strategy here. And I'm going to preface this with, we noticed during the primaries that in early voting and also on same day voting, the youth voter turnout was abysmal. They did not show up. So the 18 to 24s, what are you doing to get them to show up? Or do you have an idea on how to get them to show up for this election?
It's a great question, Ed. And I count myself, unfortunately, as a member of that. I'm 23, so I'm in that group of the 18 to 24s. And no, it's real. I mean, I saw those numbers and was also incredibly dismayed by them. And yeah, I think it's a multi-pronged approach. I think from the Brandon campaign, you see things like the Thursday evening Bernie rally that they're doing at UIC. I think is an attempt to boost youth turnout. That's really smart. I think that efforts at involving like sort of youth civic organizations are good and smart to sort of and go with, even as sort of a nonpartisan way, just in terms of like you should vote because it's important in your civic duty, and then here are the options. We at TPL have like a couple of different approaches. We really don't necessarily micro target for one or another. We target all voters, but we have run a lot of friend banks and text banks, which I think are really effective ways to get young people. One, because texting, right, that's so much of what we do, right? Like there's so few calling, even the door-to-doors, maybe not always effective at getting young folks, but text banking, I think, is a little bit more. And we've really been rolling that out and have had a lot of huge successes with that and ID supporters. And then in addition to that, we're doing a lot of friend banking, which is when we just have people reach out to their contacts and friends. And so that's an area where you think of maybe somebody who's more established as a voter, reaching out to young people in their orbit and their life and reminding them to vote and talking about voting. But peer-to-peer is always the key. And, it's not something that we've necessarily done at TPL or not necessarily something I've seen done in the Brandon campaign per se. But in general, I think for, youth turnout and broadening youth, you think about like community events, you think about like, organizations which talk about just youth empowerment all across the board. Because I do want to say that, like, you'll find, I think young people are very political, but they're not necessarily very electoral always, right? So they're very involved in the movement, right? And progressive ideas, that's their values, that's their work, our values. But unfortunately, rubber hits the road then for electoral politics, there's either a lot of cynicism or a lot of like just being transient when you're young and going all over the place that create real barriers. But that being said, there's still always work that campaigns can do to cut down those barriers. And I think some of that comes from reaching and recognizing young people as interested in these things and passionate about these things. They just don't always see how that's reflected in their candidates. So, but I think we're starting to see some of that change, and hopefully we'll see some better numbers on April 4th. But I don't know.
Yeah. So do I. It's, and I brought that question up not to blame the youth for not turning up. It's to find out what do we need to reach them, because from my point of view, I think maybe it has to do with an apathy toward a lot of voting campaigns are voting against things instead of voting for things. And I think a lot of the youth are like, well, give me something to vote for. Give me a reason to vote for this candidate. Don't give me a reason to vote against this other candidate, because we want to know, what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And for Brandon, I'd say he's going to double youth jobs, for people between 18 to 24, right? He's going to create an Office of Gun Violence Prevention to target gun violence that's affecting so many of our lives, right? Like he's going to actually put those investments in our schools that we need. He's going to make those improvements in transit that so many of us are reliant on. And he's going to push for the sort of affordable housing that would allow us to actually,
live in the city.
Live in the city.
Live in the city you want to live in. Yeah.
Not have to move back in with mom and dad or whatever, right? Or have to make any of those tough choices that so many people are forced into. So yeah, definitely. I think that's, I love that point about making it about what's for, not against, and not vote shaming, right? And I appreciate that too, Ed, that you're like, how do we actually do this and win this, as opposed to what we so often see, unfortunately, from the center, right? Which is just young people don't vote because they must.
Like we often see, we've been, a lot of us have been, turned off by politics because of the national scene of politics. But what I found is that the local politics are probably more important than the national ones in order to get real change to start happening. You have to work in areas where you can actually make a difference. And I think local politics is probably where it's at.
Well, and because so much money is funneled into those higher offices at this point, it's just like whoever can bring in the most cash is generally the winner of those bigger races. So like even just being able to like have a big enough lever to move something forward has to come from a local level versus anything real big like on the federal level. I mean, I think it happens.
Yeah.
But then you also see those people become, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, swayed toward the center, toward the center. Right. So you have local areas of leverage that actually have a lot more power than people realize. Because we had there have been candidates like was it Seattle? We had Kishama Sawant, who really made a huge difference in politics before she started her own organization. And I'm like, when you can do things on the local level and make an impact to where you're affecting things on the national level, that's where you can start to use leverage to push politicians who are higher up in the chain into doing things for the people instead of for their donors.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And you saw a great example that I think, Kira, you made reference to the 2019 slate of victories, right? When we elected so many progressive champions. And then you saw right in 2022, we were able to elevate Delia Ramirez to Congress, and from similar movements and similar things working off of each other, right? Like starting at that lowest level,
right, and
technically, and then building up power from there. And I've seen it right from like working previously in constituent services, how much just the practical needs of your life 100% are dealt with by local government far more than what happens in Washington. So it's critically important.
Cool. Any other questions, Ed? Anything?
No, I'm good. I like those answers very much. I actually I'm heartened by the future of the younger people of America, knowing that Daniel is one of the people pushing forward in it.
Oh, man, that's too kind. I slid him a 20 before this.
You love Venmo. Awesome. Anything else for you, Daniel, before we bid you adieu for the evening, and then you can go probably back to GOTV.
Yeah, right. Well, just first, thank you so much, Ed and Kira. Big fan of the show, and really appreciate you all taking the time to talk with me and have me on for your viewers. And yes, please, folks, this is so important, right? Brandon Johnson has started saying it at the end of his speeches, but there's a great quote from Martin Luther King Jr. when he came down to Chicago in the 1960s, and he said, if we can crack Chicago, we can crack the nation, and it'll set off like a fire across the prairie, across this country. This city's special. This election is special. This is one of the greatest test cases we've had, right? Of if the left can defeat the right. And if we can do it here, we can do it anywhere. And the whole country, the whole world will be watching. So please volunteer, please knock doors. This is history. You don't want to miss out on it. So thanks so much, folks.
Hell yeah. All right. Thank you, Daniel. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you.
Yeah, see ya. Bye.
Peace.
All right. I feel a little better now about things.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Knowing that there are, we need the next generations behind us pushing really hard for good change. And it sounds like this is a push in the right direction if we can get past the goal line or goal post or whatever metaphor you want to use.
Yeah. And then, just to your point, Ed, about like feeling better, right? I'm telling you, like most people think that like getting involved, getting, becoming an organizer or just being, an activist, right? Not just being an activist, but being an activist, which is highly important. Being a volunteer inside of this like huge, thing is really, it's more hopeful than you would think it is, right? Because it, like what Daniel was pointing to, it's like you are surrounded by people who are out like doing the work and you actually get to see it in action. And I think honestly I've been an organizer in Chicago since 2009. And I think that is why I've been able to have such an optimistic outlook in general, is because I have been in that conversation for change in a very active way for a long time, even though, right, the world is not really moving in the direction that I have been pushing it toward. There is still, as silly as Pollyanna as it might be, there is still actual optimism there for me because I'm in it and I'm striving always toward that left swing, that left pendulation.
And it's important to have people organizing in certain areas. And yes, local politics may not be the most important thing for everyone, but it can matter in how your life runs in where you live. Sometimes, if you just have the right representation locally, to be able to support things like, mental health facilities, or making sure to properly allocate funds for community resources in any ward, not just a handful of wards, right? Into making sure that all the alder people are communicating with each other and the mayor and our state politicians to make sure we're coordinated on all kinds of efforts to help people, not just the ones that they want to focus on.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And telling you, going door to door is not nearly as hard and definitely not as scary as you would think. It's actually quite fun. And it's very, it feels really good. It feels really good. I'm telling you.
Yeah. And so, and just to harken back on an earlier part of the show where we were talking about France, they have a lot of organization going on in France, that they've got lots of support systems just in their communities outside of government so that they can do things like a general strike over a 2-year increase in retirement age.
Right.
Now,
right.
And that's from 62 to 64, Kira. And so
we're like, I guess we can work till we're 70.
People in the United States don't even realize that I think our retirement age is like 67. It's 67. Like it's like not even on our radar here because we've been conditioned over the decades to be focused on other things. We know what and also we've been conditioned into thinking that most of us are pretty much going to work for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, I think that most of us have just like resigned ourselves to that, honestly.
Yeah, and maybe we shouldn't, So
I agree.
Just food for thought there. Just food for thought for our audience right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe we should consider building some support systems outside of government. But I'm not talking about Waco, Texas kind of stuff. I'm talking about just community support systems, right? I mean, some of those already exist, right? Don't they have like neighborhood watches and that kind of stuff, just as an example. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, your neighbors are the people that you're going to be most likely to sway anyway. So if you want to, the friend banking is super effective, right?
So maybe, maybe start with, when the weather gets nicer, maybe have a community barbecue and get to know a lot of your friends and neighbors and get them to understand what other things can I provide as a service to my friends and family and neighbors, when the shit hits the fan, so to speak. If situation happens and the community has to start reaching out and supporting each other on a less than regular situation, right? For example, one of our fellow live streamers, Jimmy Sunderland, lives in California, and they got like a butt ton of snow out there, and to the point where they couldn't get up and down the mountain for basics, right? They couldn't even clear the snow because they had to clear snow to clear the snow from the snow, right? And then so what happened was a lot of the neighbors in the area banded together to try and help each other out. This is the type of stuff that we need to do in every neighborhood, in every community. We have to try.
Yep.
And look, I'm kind of an introvert, right? Except when I'm on a live stream and I got something to say, right, Kira? So I'm just saying, I don't get out very much. I don't reach out a lot beyond my usual boundaries to meet people and stuff, but I need to make an effort. I think everybody needs to make an effort to start to get to know your neighbors, even if it's just a situation where some freak snowstorm happens near the end of March and you all got to help each other dig out, right? You're not reaching for the dibs chairs. You're not reaching for the Lori Lightfoot standee to not mark off your parking space anymore.
I think I'm the only person of the regular contributors that supports dibs.
Kira, I understand dibs. I was half supportive of it, and then Jerry he read me the riot act on that, and I'm like, you know what, you're right. I mean when it all comes down to it, what you really should do is help your neighbors dig each other out.
Yes, of course, but dibs make sense. I mean, when you're
an aging dude and maybe your back's not so great and you spent several hours in a whole lot of pain trying to dig out your spot just so you can have a place to park once you get back from the commute job that you were stuck in traffic for 2 hours, okay, I can kind of understand where you might want to put a dibs chair down.
But the thing about me is I love shoveling snow. It's like one of my, it's actually like, as far as chores go, it's like probably one of my favorite things to do.
See, and
So
it is a controversial, it's definitely a controversial thing. Matt says dibs all day.
Dibs all day.
Arturo wants to know if you can 3D print dibs. Well, I mean, anything you can 3D print could theoretically be used as dibs.
True. It's true. If you can make it big enough and someone won't run over it with their car.
Yeah.
I dibs are dibs all day. And then whatever man had a question for us, and I did not want to gloss over, which is does Illinois, pardon me, have a citizen ballot initiative measure on this upcoming election? There is no
some of the in Chicago. I think some of the wards might have had independent ballot initiatives in some wards, but I didn't see anything that really stood out to me as something we needed to talk about. And there is a function for doing ballot initiatives in Illinois, if that's what you're asking. It's complicated and they make it really hard to do, which is why we call for people to do it. But it's hard. I mean, we need help, just like everybody else needs help trying to figure out how to get it done. And if maybe somebody can figure out how to make it easier. And actually, I had, speaking of Jimmy, who got stuck in the snow the other week, she had an idea of coming up with, that Chat GPT, artificial intelligence, that AI.
Yeah.
She said maybe somebody could train it to draft legislation for us so that it's properly formatted.
I bet you could actually.
And I was like, that's a brilliant.
No, I honestly think that you could do that.
Yeah. So if you could get, you would tell Chat GPT, okay, look up the proper formatting for legislation in Illinois on drafting a ballot initiative and write legislation about we want to do this and see what it comes up with.
And then you just bring it to, somebody who knows legislation and law to look over it.
Yeah. See, looks good.
Yep. And then say like, this is because sometimes if something isn't clear or if it's somewhat confusing, they can strike it down. Which is frequently what happens to ballot initiative measures is they say, this isn't clear enough, so we strike this, like it's not going to work.
And just like the Vogons in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there's probably several forms you have to fill out before you even file the legislation.
No, that's true too. Yeah. Totally.
So we just have to be aware of that. But yeah, great question. Okay, I think
we should look into that. Yeah. So I turned into a pumpkin at 9:30.
Yes, so we should probably cover the other story you want to cover from our good friend Kathy Powers.
Yeah, well, it's a perfect little segue, right? Isn't it? Talking about activism and organizing, and Kathy, one of our patrons and one of our regular live chatters, actually sent a story my way that I wanted to highlight because, again, one of the reasons that I decided I wanted to work on and with Chicago Corner is because I am a local organizer, and I really think that local efforts are where it's at inside of like creating change, the change that we want to see. And so I also want to, make sure to highlight when those things are happening. And so our own Kathy Powers, actually in the People's Tribune, it sent me her draft on the latest protest of the people's gas rate hike. And I know, Ed, that you have, I sent you videos and pictures and stuff like that.
There's like a 22-second video and then a bunch of photos. So you wanna see the video?
Yeah, sure. Let's look at the video.
Let's put the video up. Let's see if I got audio on this thing.
Absurd. People's Gas is spending billions of dollars of our money on unnecessary fossil fuel infrastructure, all while city, state, and federal policy call for the transition to clean energy. But this bailout program is the key driver of the record People's Gas rate hike and 5 years straight, maybe 6 years, record.
I think I spied Cam Buckner in there. In the
Yeah,
crowd.
and who is that? Like, I could be wrong, and I'm so sorry if I am, but is that Byron Cincho Lopez?
Speaking? No.
No, that's not him. Okay, I was wondering if that was him or not. Okay. Well, so here's the story in its fullest. Again, by Kathy Powers, draft for the People's Tribune. So I don't think it has actually been published yet. So we're getting a little sneaky peeky of this. So the hike that is requested is a $400 million increase that would raise bills by more than $140 per year for a household. And
For gas?
For gas, yeah.
It's already through the roof.
I know, dude.
It's insane.
It's cuckoo. I can't believe what our gas bill looks like these days. And according to advocacy group Illinois Public Interest Research Group, or Illinois PIRG, the proposal could increase bills by an average of $12 a month. The company also, People's Gas, posted record profits, of course, and 20% of the People's Gas customers, so 1 in 5 customers, are actually in debt to People's Gas. 1 in 5 customers are already in debt to People's Gas, you guys. And they want a rate hike of over $140 per year per household. So it's kind of ridiculous, but like, okay, so what is this all about? So People's Gas is not only exceptionally profitable, in the year 2021, which allowed it to pay $180 million in dividends to its parent company, WEC Energy Group of Wisconsin. And that's a repeat. So that's one piece. So it's not like they're really suffering. And then starting in 2023, the gas company will no longer be able to add late fees to low-income household bills. That's because of a provision in the landmark Climate and Equitable Jobs Act that Governor J.B. Pritzker just signed into law. Like I said, 1 in 5 People's Gas customers are in debt to the utility, and it will only make the home heating affordability crisis worse. It amounts to $111 million in debt collectively. And now with a rate hike on the way, there are fears that more customers will fall behind. When you consider the current economic climate, it's an increase some families say they just cannot afford. When it comes to these communities already struggling with keeping up with their bills. And Inglewood tops the list, where more than 47% of People's Gas customers are more than 30 days or more behind in gas bills. So that is the issue at hand. And that speaker there was talking about the main reason being to build, basically infrastructure that still runs on fossil fuels. So they're wanting to build infrastructure that is running on an energy that ideally we would be phasing out of at this point, and eventually will be antiquated, right? Instead of like new energy possibilities. So this was the action. It was right out of the outside of the Aon Center downtown. There were just over 100 people there. So it is impacting people enough, again, to get people out and protesting and making a stink about it, because it's unworkable for people to be paying more right now.
The utility companies are way too friendly with our politicians.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen it. In fact, just recently, we had Lori Lightfoot try to ram through a 5-year deal with ComEd. We know that the utility companies, ComEd, People's Gas, all the other ones, they're making record profits.
Yeah, they're making tons of money.
They consistently ask the state for more money, and then tell everybody they need to raise rates in addition. And to that, I say, no. Just tell them no. This isn't hard. You have to, especially Dick Durbin and every other senator and representative that we have in our state, and if you're having energy issues in your state, yell at them extremely loudly. Tell them no. No more deals, no more sweetheart deals, no more rate increases for utility companies. Enough is enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, in light of all of the profits that these folks are making. It's just, like I said, I mean, I think unworkable is the word that keeps coming to mind for me. People cannot do this. And people are suffering as a result. And then Kathy Powers, who is the author of what I just wrote, says utilities should be publicly owned to rule out the profit seeking. And I agree.
And that should be the threat on these for-profit utility companies. If you don't like the rates that we set, then we'll just take you over.
Right? Yeah.
We will municipalize you. You will become a state-run thing, and then your profits are gone, and you can go bye-bye. And we will pay these people as public employees to help run our electric system and help people not go completely broke just to get electricity or cooking gas into their homes.
Well, and then Arturo adds, look, the gas company has promised the oil company will give all their money, and this is their way of giving the oil company our money.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to highlight that these things are happening all over the city, folks. And so, if you are interested in getting involved in these sorts of efforts, get involved. You can reach out. I know that Kathy Powers is available, and she will email you all of the actions to go to if you are actually interested. And then, of course, we had Daniel Strum on just a moment ago to talk about getting out the vote. And you can always reach out to me. You see my email right underneath my name there. You can always find. I'm super easy to find, and I'm always happy to share how you can get involved, because I am an advocate for getting out and doing something. Whatever lights your hair on fire. That's what I always say. Whatever lights your hair on fire. Let's get out.
We have more stories in the show notes, and we might just save some of these for Friday. But I did wanna cover this one because I have it in the title there. And it's kind of a worldwide story, really, but it has a Chicago origin, strangely enough. Coming from BuzzFeed, we spoke to the guy who created the viral AI image of the Pope that fooled the world. Remember this image? Anybody remember? I can't. Hold on. Let me zoom.
Remember that image.
Let me zoom out a little bit so we can. Okay, it's not letting me. Oh, here we go. All right, so this image ended up on social media the other day, and no one thought anything of it. They figured, well, the Pope's just stylish, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's not a real photo. It's not real. Okay, so let's see if this will let me scroll.
Oh my God, that coat.
Why is it not letting me scroll?
I just thought it was funny to see the Pope in a funny jacket is the little sub quote.
So let me read the article while it's still up on my screen, because BuzzFeed apparently is just jumping all over the place with all the ads they've thrown in here. Over the weekend, a photo of Pope Francis looking dapper in a white puffer jacket went mega viral on social media. The 86-year-old sitting pontiff, it appeared, has some serious drip, but there was just one problem. The image is not real. It was made using the AI art tool Midjourney.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Arturo says, that's beautiful. What is that? Velvet?
Yeah. As word spread across the internet that the image was generated by AI, many expressed surprise. Quote, I thought the Pope's puffer jacket was real and didn't give it a second thought. Chrissy Teigen tweeted. Remember her?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I heard her name before. I don't really actually know who she is.
She's a model who married musician John Legend.
Oh, okay, I was thinking
And
she married a sports person.
He,
Okay, an athlete. That's what those are called.
Yeah, she had a reality show for a little while, so she's kind of popular celebrity sort of
I've
social
heard her name
media
a
icon
ton. I just
until
have no
she quit.
idea.
Yeah. Well, and then she was also became famous for quitting Twitter, but I guess she's back.
Well, she's tweeting.
She says, yeah, but here's the part. She says, no way am I surviving the future of technology. She's right.
No.
Because
I mean, me neither. I'll just be like, yeah, that must have happened. There's a picture.
We are now living in a world of deep fakes, Kira.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting to the point where you can't really tell anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those times. It's like, well, unless somebody really, really analyzed that photo, everyone's just looking at it without really a second thought other than, hey, cool jacket.
Yep. Yep. I mean,
that was my first thought. I'm like, dude, that's a sweet coat that dude's wearing.
Hey,
right?
Pope.
Turns out he never wore it. Although maybe he'll think about getting one now.
I think that he should. I mean, it's super sweet. Although, I mean, being that it's white and all, that's probably not gonna stay that crisp all that long. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So some newsletter named Garbage Day has a writer and former BuzzFeed news reporter Ryan Broderick called it, quote, the first real mass level AI misinformation case, following hot on the heels of faked images of Donald Trump being arrested by police in New York.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see those, but
I read the headline. I didn't even look at the pictures because I didn't believe for a second that Donald Trump would get arrested. Are you kidding?
Yeah. So, here. Come on, Twitter. Come on. Okay. Now, for the first time, the image's creator has shared the story of how he generated the photograph that fooled the world. Pablo Xavier, a 31-year-old construction worker from the Chicago area, who declined. Well, it says Chicago area, so maybe he's from the suburbs, but
maybe
still.
From Oak Park, like me.
Yeah, there you go. Who declined to share his last name over fears that he could be attacked for creating the image. So that's his middle name, Xavier? Okay. Said he was tripping on shrooms last week when he came up with the idea for the image.
Hell yeah, Pablo. I'm into it. Yes.
He, quote, I'm trying to figure out ways of making something funny because that's what I usually try to do, he told BuzzFeed. I try to do funny stuff or trippy art, psychedelic stuff. It just dawned on me I should do the Pope. And then it was coming like water. The Pope in Balenciaga puffy coat, Moncler, walking the streets of Rome, Paris, stuff like that. He generated the first 3 images around 2 p.m. local time last Friday. He first took up using Midjourney after one of his brothers died in November. Sad. It pretty much just all started with that, just dealing with grief and making images of my past brother, he said. I fell in love with it after that. When Pablo Xavier first saw the Pope images, he said, I thought they were perfect. So he posted them to a Facebook group called AI Art Universe and then on Reddit. He was shocked when the images quickly went viral. I was blown away, he said. I didn't want it to blow up like that.
That's really funny.
And here's more
Are you
people
wearing the
posting.
Papal Puffer parka?
Yes, I am.
Oh my God, that's
So,
hilarious. I love it. I love Pablo Xavier.
Yeah. So here, actually, I like this one better.
Yeah,
this one is pretty
one's
sweet.
good. Yeah.
That one looks. That's actually pretty. I mean, it's like this guy should basically become the garment designer for the Pope. Really.
I think so too.
It's like, you know what?
I
It's
want to
like,
hear what
I
the
like
Pope
this
has
one.
to
I
say
like
about
this one.
this.
Yeah, I don't know if he's even aware of this, but if someone makes him aware, we should definitely try and follow up to see if he had any comment on this. But
Or maybe he just goes out and gets the jacket because he's like, "Hot damn, I look good in that."
So yeah, so here he is. This is the photo that went viral, and look, I mean, at first glance, you don't even think that there's a problem with this photo at all.
No, and I don't see that there's a problem with the Pope wearing that fantastic jacket.
No, it's great. It's a great puffy coat. It conceals the possibility of a bulletproof vest or anything else like that. It was stylish. It's white. It matches his style. I thought it was great.
I agree. I love it. Pablo, hats off. Yeah. We love it. We love your AI artwork. Keep it coming.
Yeah. So, and then I thought we'd.
Right. It's going to be tough to survive the future.
Yeah, it is. And I thought we'd close with another deep fake, along with basically a musical number, which I'm hoping we're not going to get a channel strike for, because the guy who did this video is the one who produced the music. So let's see if I can. Hold on a second. If I can. Why is this thing not letting me?
John Puffy.
I am encountering technical difficulties here.
Technical difficulties.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, this is fake. Do not believe this is real, but please enjoy.
I'm Paul Vallis, and I have spent a lifetime in criminal interests. From my time as a state fiscal commissioner and city budget director to my corporate takeover of public schools from Chicago to Chile, I put public funds to work for private business and punitive policing, public education money for charter operators, testing companies, and overseas consultant work, state violence prevention money for metal detectors, police in schools, and zero tolerance policies, campaign donations from hedge funds and private equity firms invested in weapons, ammunitions, and prisons. On April 4th, demand order and austerity. Vote Paul Vallis. I will represent the people of Chicago doing what I've always done. Put myself on the line to solve problems for the bankers and the poor. All right, it. Look, I'm anti-black, and that's a fact, Jack. The working class. Get money.
Chicago, we got a decision to make. Fate of the city hangs in the balance. It's the people versus Paul Vallis. It's a call out. A full now for these dudes that's full now. Una bala para Paul Vallis. De rebeldías y jaro chicanos para Chicago. Yo, my first protest was against CPS. Paul Vallis and they standardized tests. Dictator Daily had it out for the babies. Took over the schools and imposed all these changes. Failures, like putting business in control. Set the stage for budget problems down the road. Schools closed, teacher pensions underfunded. Wreak havoc on the tight city budgets. Parents sidelined, children criminalized. Teachers shortchanged, Vallis capitalized. Chicago, then Philly, then Bridgeport, Connecticut. Same medicine, privatizing public benefits. Charter schools and more police in the city. Vallis a mercenary, doing the bankers bidding. Terrorist tactics from New Orleans, Haiti to Chile. Real violent actions of vouchers in cop cities. Work studying, keeping the schools open late. Just to cover for privatizing the state. Selling fear in a race to the bottom. Up to the people of Chicago. Stop. Chicago, run that. Time to take the whole city back, yeah.
I'm just pausing it right now just in case they don't understand. This is fair use, and also I'm enjoying it immensely.
Oh yeah, no, this is great.
This is Rebel Diaz. If you guys are looking for this video, and he even has there's links in the show notes where you can download the song from his SoundCloud if you want to listen to it later.
Chicago, run that. Time to take the whole city back, yeah. Chicago, run that. Time to take the whole city back, yeah. Chicago, run that. Time to take the whole city back, yeah. Milton Freeman and his education. The big bad wolf, Mr. Privatization. Who are the criminals? Who are the thieves? Who opposes every second that we breathe? Paul Vallis, he love the police. The law and order guy, and I ain't talking Ice-T. We don't want you for no mayor. We don't want you for no mayor. I say that shit twice like a broken record player. See, I'm kids a lot. Paul's the type of dad that raises killer cops.
Damn.
Just the wealthy ops. We need community control of our schools and blocks. Are we conditioned by these conditions? The lunch our kids eat the same ones from the prisons. Paul's a vulture. Chicago is the carcass. He on the pedestal. It's time we push him off it. The economic shock doctrine in Chile. Los estudiantes en la calle en los 2000. Los que luchan por educación gratuita de Chicago a Santiago luchando por la vida.
I'd just like you to know that we are very supportive of bilingual music videos.
Of course.
Chicago, vamos, ponte a organizar en tu barrio. Chicago, vamos, ponte a organizar en tu barrio. Chicago, vamos, ponte a organizar en tu barrio. Chicago, vamos, ponte a organizar en tu barrio.
Nuestro partido es el pueblo, la raza y la juventud. Luchamos por la salud para poder defendernos ante los malos gobiernos que crían desigualdad. Nos niegan la dignidad que se debe a nuestra gente. Hagamos lo que es decente, salvemos nuestra ciudad. Hagamos lo que es decente, salvemos nuestra ciudad. Salvemos nuestra ciudad.
Yeah, that's you know how these music videos, like they bring in a special guest to sing like part of the song. Well, this is
whomever,
featuring Haro Chicanos singing in Spanish. This is really catchy video.
This is really good. Yeah,
this is something I wish that more people had done earlier in the mayoral race, but I am so glad it's showing up now.
Yeah,
it's like it's almost like perfect timing for this.
Yeah, share.
Salvemos nuestra ciudad. Salvemos nuestra ciudad. Salvemos nuestra ciudad.
Hell yeah. Wow.
Wasn't that badass?
That was really good.
I mean,
I liked it a lot. I mean, that line about raising a killer cop.
Yeah, I mean that's a story you can look into on your own. I just it was kind of funny seeing a special guest show up on the video eating chicken wings with Vallis. I'm like, oh yep.
Man,
so here we are. It is 9:45 Central Time, and I think we're out of gas. We're out of gas.
We're out of gas, absolutely.
But I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening on a special Taco Tuesday. And we will be back on Friday. I believe Jerry will be back.
From what I understand, I'm not
steering the ship away from the iceberg as usual.
Right.
And I'll be there. And as always, Kira is always welcome to jump in and take the show over whenever she feels like it. So
indeed,
I mean, that's part of the deal.
Oh, I'm traveling on Friday. I will not be.
All right. Well, that's part of the deal. And even when we're not able to get onto the live stream, a lot of us will just, come into the live chat and say hello.
Indeed.
Speaking of jumping into the live chat, hello, Jimmy. Thanks for joining us. You'll probably want to rewind later and watch the rest of the train wreck that I was steering today. But we did have Kira.
You did a great job, Ed.
I think we did okay.
I think we crushed it.
I know I'm very self-deprecating, but yeah,
well,
we had.
You're in good company because I'm super braggadocious, so I think we killed it tonight. Personally.
Yeah, we did pretty good, and it was really nice to have Kira on, and we had our special guest to help get out the vote. So remember, everybody, if you're in Chicago, if you're not registered to vote yet, you can vote. You can register same day, and early voting is already started. So there really is no excuse if you are inclined to vote. If you're choosing to vote in this election, just find the time to do it. Pick a candidate.
This is a big one.
I mean, in my opinion, I don't think it's really that hard to make a decision in this runoff, but
Absolutely. Yeah. Get out, get voting. And and if you do want to take part in actually moving the election beyond voting yourself, friend banking, is a great way to do that. And then, of course, like we said, the People's Lobby calendar, where you can actually sign up and get voter rolls to go door to door. So let's get in action, y'all.
So Jerry says, so fun to be on the other side. Yeah, it's nice to just kick back and watch.
Yeah.
As I struggle with all the buttons to make all the stuff show up on the screen. But I'm getting much better at this than when I started. So I'm very happy with how our show is progressing here. And I hope that all you viewers are happy too, that you will subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Facebook at Chicago Corner TV. Follow us on Twitter at Chicago Corner TV.
Tell your friends, tell your neighbors.
Head to chicagocornertv.com and follow us on all the other social media I'm forgetting to tell you about. We are in the process of rebuilding our Redbubble shop as well. There is a link to a shop, but I have to get some stuff taken care of just to verify that we're still us. But other than that, you can support us by, again, sharing the stream. Tell people we exist. If you want to throw a few bucks our way, we really appreciate it. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Chicago Corner. As little as $1, really. I mean, you want to throw $5 at us, we'll be happy for that. It'll make it a lot easier for us to get tacos on Taco Tuesday or pizza on Pizza Friday. We're just trying to make ends meet here like a lot of the rest of you. But at the same time, we think it's important to get on here a couple times a week and deliver some of the information of what's going on in Chicago, or at least our perspective on other things going on in Chicago and the rest of the world. So it's our civic duty, in my opinion, to come on here and help you guys get a better perspective on what's happening in your world. And I appreciate any support that you can give it to us. So once again, on behalf of Kira and that Jerry guy who's hosting on Friday. Hi, Deep Dish Pizza enthusiast Edward Heller. Thank you for watching us this evening. And come back and see us on Friday, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, give or take a half hour. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, indeed.
Thank you and good night.
Get out and don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
It's P.L. Sullivan's International Chicken Wing and Currency Exchange. It is behind that one alley. You know the one.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.